She woke into a scream she couldn't release. The darkness was too complete. Not the kind that comes when the lights are off. This was black poured into her skull, suffocating from the inside out. Her eyes were open. She knew they were open. The burn of unshed tears stung the corners, the faint pressure of lashes lifted. But nothing moved. Not her limbs. Not her jaw. Not even the tiny muscles in her throat. She couldn't breathe. No, that wasn't quite true. She could, in shallow, choked gasps no deeper than a dying candle's flicker. Her lungs begged, scraped inward with a wheeze so faint it felt imagined. The inhale didn't reach her ribs. It hovered at the top of her throat, sharp and dry like air filtered through sandpaper. Her chest swelled a fraction. And then stopped. Everything inside her screamed to thrash, to fight, to move. But her body had been nailed into place. Each limb weighed 1,000 pounds. Each muscle a rusted wire, buried and forgotten. The panic came fast. She tried to scream again. Her tongue jerked once in her mouth, helpless. Her lips parted but no sound escaped. Her lungs pulled at nothing. Her throat locked up. Her vision sparkled at the edges. Little pops of fire behind her eyes. Her heart thumped in her ears like distant gunshots. And then, the pressure. It didn't push from above. It bled in. From the corners. From the ceiling. From under the bed and inside the pillow and between her ribs. A force without shape or reason, and it hated her. She knew that. It wasn't human. It wasn't a demon. It wasn't anything she could name. But it was ancient. Violent. It had been waiting. A sharp pulse built behind her temples. Tears spilled down the sides of her face and soaked the pillow beneath. She couldn't wipe them. Couldn't blink them away. Her vision blurred, but there was nothing to see. Only the sense of it. Heavy and coiled above her like a predator. It hovered inches from her chest. She couldn't see it, but she felt it gather. More present than skin. It scraped at her thoughts. It unspooled her mind like thread in a storm, twisting each fear until it grew teeth. The ceiling creaked. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe it was her skull. Her ears felt wet. Were they bleeding? She couldn't tell. Her ribs ached. The air refused to come. The pressure shifted again, and this time it dug. Not into her body, but into something deeper. Memory. Identity. It was unraveling her. Not with claws or blades or fangs, but with intent. Something was about to happen. She could feel it the way animals feel earthquakes before they strike. Every nerve in her body lit up at once, screaming into silence. The darkness above her pulsed, like a heart. Then it dropped. She didn't see it. There was no shape, no mass. But it entered her. A soundless detonation went off inside her skull. Her jaw locked open. Every muscle in her face stretched tight, then clenched. Her temples screamed. Her eyes rolled back so hard the sockets ached. Her mind tried to flee and found no doors. Agony exploded behind her forehead. Her head felt too small to hold the pressure. A migraine multiplied by 1,000. Her vision bleached white, blinding and all-consuming, a floodlight behind her retinas. It pressed through her skull like a star collapsing inward. Her body seized against itself. Her lungs filled. But not with air. Not water, either. Something thicker. Heavier. Her chest bloated as if packed with tar. She choked, mouth wide, but the air had weight now, and volume, and intent. Her thoughts split into screams. She couldn't even black out. And then, nothing. She woke gasping, body jerking forward, hair clinging wet to her neck. Morning light carved thin lines through the blinds, painting the room in slashes of pale gold. Her skin was clammy. Her chest rose and fell in rapid bursts, her heart drumming against her ribs like it wanted out. She grabbed her phone from the nightstand. 5:12 a.m. Over 40 minutes until her alarm. No chance of going back to sleep. She sat on the edge of the bed, arms wrapped around her waist, bare feet flat on the carpet. The memory of pressure still lingered in her sternum. Not a bruise, but the memory of one. Her throat felt raw, like she'd been screaming for hours. But she hadn't made a sound. She was sure of that. The dream clung to her, slow and sticky like oil in her hair. The shower helped. Steam filled the bathroom, fogging the mirror. She stood under the water long enough for it to run cold, fingers pressed to her temples, replaying flashes she couldn't explain. Her mind refused to stitch the pieces together. It was like trying to describe pain in a language that didn't have words for it. She took her time drying off, brushing her teeth, moving through her routine like someone else's life she borrowed for the day. By the time she dressed and left the house, the sky was a washed-out blue. Pale sun. Too bright. Too clean. She drove aimlessly for a while, pretending she was in control. Eventually, she pulled into a corner gas station with a fluorescent-lit convenience store. A taquito. Something warm, handheld. And a neon-colored energy drink. Ritual comfort. The bell above the store door chimed. As she stepped out, someone stepped in. A man, maybe mid-30s, scruffy beard, leather jacket. They bumped shoulders. Contact. And for a fraction of a second, the world shattered. White light slammed into her eyes. Her skull detonated. The same pain, same choking pressure, same presence. A scream from inside her teeth. Every nerve in her body lit up, electric and terrified. Then it was gone. She staggered into the parking lot like she'd been hit by a car, stumbling against the hood of her own. She gasped, loud and ragged. Her heart beat like it was trying to outrun her body. She collapsed into the driver's seat, door half open. The taquito slipped from its wrapper. She didn't care. She chewed slowly, mechanically. The food felt alien in her mouth. The image of the man who had brushed her shoulder wouldn't leave. Every time she blinked, she saw his face. But not the way it was. She saw him beaten, his face swollen beyond recognition. One eye gone. Blood matting his beard. Mouth split into a grin full of shattered teeth. He gurgled something wet and sweet-smelling as he bled out on floor. She shook her head. Blinked. Another flash, his body slumped against the drink cooler, a shotgun blast having erased half of his chest. Ribs like shattered glass, red soaking into the tiles beneath him. Still warm. Still twitching. Another blink. Another version. He stood just outside the store, clutching his neck, blood spurting between his fingers. A razor-wide smile opened beneath his jaw, a slit too precise to be random. He dropped to his knees, then fell sideways into the gutter. Her stomach lurched. She looked away from nothing. Her breathing refused to slow. Her heart stopped beating. She didn't gasp. She didn't struggle. She simply paused. Her lungs ceased their rhythm, but there was no hunger for air. No panic. The silence inside her chest was complete. And it felt right. A quietness deeper than rest. Her body no longer belonged to time. The morning sunlight dimmed. Not a passing cloud. Not shade. It faded. Like a dying light bulb or an old memory. The soft gold glow through the windshield sank into ash gray. Shadows deepened unnaturally, all edges blurring. Outside, everything stilled. A car on the street froze mid-turn. Tires didn't squeal. No momentum carried it forward. It simply stopped, like a paused video. A bird hung in the sky above the gas station canopy. Wings outstretched. Frozen mid-beat. Gravity forgot it. The world held its breath. She opened the car door. No longer breathless. No longer shaking. Her hands moved with unfamiliar confidence. Her feet touched pavement like she was floating. Her limbs carried her back. Not by choice, not exactly. Something pulled, something internal but not hers. Not a voice. Not a thought. Just a vector. She stepped into the convenience store. It was darker inside than it should have been. Not just dim, but drained. Like color had been bled from the air. The buzzing of the lights was silent. Refrigerators didn't hum. The only sound was the absence of sound. The man she had bumped into stood at the slushy machine. A cup in his hand, 2/3 full. A swirl of red and blue already slushing into one another, frozen mid-pour. His hand hovered over the machine's lever. The lid in his other hand waited half a second from its destination. He didn't move. She turned her head. A young woman stood by the door near a display of snack cakes and old magazines. Maybe 20. Torn jeans, oversized hoodie. Her hand clutched the corner of a rack of tabloids. Her eyes, mid-blink, stared through the shelf. Her lips were half-parted. From the edge of her hoodie pocket, the clip of a folding knife caught the dull light. Not threatening. Not drawn. Just present. Just real. Behind the counter, a second man stood. The attendant. Mid-50s maybe, bald on top, arms covered in old ink. He leaned forward, elbow on the counter, mouth caught mid-yawn. She stepped behind the counter, unseen. Beneath the register, hidden in shadow but clearly within reach, a shotgun. It lay across a narrow shelf. Its barrel was smudged with thumbprints. Its stock had a crack through the wood. Worn. Used. She could smell the oil from where she stood. Could imagine the weight in her hands. And then, the man in the soup aisle. He was maybe 40. Dressed plain. Soft gut pressing against a tucked-in shirt. His hand gripped a can of soup. Label facing outward, edges sharp, clean aluminum gleaming faintly even in the dimness. Her gaze locked on the can. Nothing else existed. Not the man's face. Not his posture. Just the can. Its hardness, its perfect edges. A metal object designed to endure, not to feel. Its coldness echoed something inside her. She walked to him. She didn't hesitate. She didn't wonder. Her hand reached out. She touched the can. And something left her. No sound, no word, no breath. Just a release. A venting of heatless pressure, an emotional toxin without name. It poured from her chest through her fingertips and into the can like ink soaking into fabric. The can shimmered. It wasn't bright, exactly. It just seemed more real than anything else. As though everything else had been memory, and this was truth. She took a step back. Her hand trembled. The glow faded. The light in the store returned. Slowly, like a sunrise in reverse. Colors restored. Time re-entered. The slushy machine let out a final clunk as the pour stopped. The man resumed his motion, placing the plastic lid onto the cup with one clean press. The woman at the door blinked. The hum of lights returned. The man with the soup turned. Without hesitation, without pause, without even a change in expression. He walked, can still in hand, straight toward the man holding the slushie, and raised the can above his head. The man raised the can of soup. His arm moved with no hesitation, like he was placing groceries on a shelf. Not winding up to strike a stranger in the back of the head. No malice. No anger. Just inevitability. A body obeying instructions written somewhere beneath his skin. The man with the slushie never saw it coming. The sound was worse than she could have imagined. A metallic pop, like someone slamming a pipe into wet concrete. The can connected with the side of his skull, just above the ear. Bone crunched. The slushy cup launched from his hand, arcing through the air like a toy, red and blue crystals scattering mid-flight. The man dropped. His body crumpled unnaturally. Not like someone fainting. Like something broken. One leg twitched, scraped against the floor. His arm spasmed once. Then nothing. The man with the can stood over him. Soup dripped down the label in slow spirals, now dented and half-split. A smear of hair clung to the rim. Blood ran down the attacker's wrist, fat and fast. He still held the can. He hadn't blinked. Then he bent. Without urgency. Without expression. He raised the can again. And brought it down. Crunch. A pause. Squish. He struck again. And again. 5 times total. Each impact was a grotesque blend of violence. The ring of metal, the wet of bursting tissue, the dull thud of skull collapsing inward. Her stomach turned. She tasted copper at the back of her throat. When he stood, it was as if nothing had happened. He let the can go. It dropped with a muted clang, bounced once, and rolled across the floor. A lazy spin, leaving a snaking trail of broth and blood. He turned without pause and walked toward the counter. The clerk stared, stunned. Eyes wide, mouth open. The shotgun was already in his hands, raised halfway. But he wasn't shouting. Couldn't shout. His lips fumbled silently at a warning that wouldn't come. The man kept walking. The clerk finally found his voice, just as his finger found the trigger. The gun barked. It wasn't cinematic. It wasn't clean. It was deafening. A single blast that ripped the air in half, louder than any movie ever dared to be. Primal, physical. It filled the tiny store like a thunderclap inside a coffin. The attacker stumbled, a red splash blooming from his abdomen. The clerk gasped, hyperventilating. He froze for a second. Then bolted, running from around the counter in blind terror. He didn't get far. He collided with someone near the snack racks. The young woman. She had crouched down behind the magazine stand, ducking low through the horror. Now she stood. Her hoodie was damp at the shoulder where his blood had soaked in from the impact. The two stumbled. She steadied herself. He ran for the door. She followed. Not at first. She turned, slowly, deliberately. Her right hand reached into her pocket. The clip of the knife caught the fluorescent light again. She stepped forward. The man at the door was wounded, hunched, dragging one foot like a snapped hinge. He fumbled with the handle, blood dripping in long strands. She opened the knife. Click. A clean metallic snap. Then she grabbed him from behind. One arm around his upper torso, pinning him, turning his momentum into her angle. With the other hand, she reached across his throat. One clean movement, one deep slash. His throat opened. Blood spurted with each pump of his heart, bright red and spraying in arcs. His body bucked forward, dead legs carrying him on inertia. He crashed against the glass door, flinging it wide, and fell through the opening. The last of his breath gurgled out across the floor tiles. The two women stood still. One drenched in arterial spray, the other untouched but breathing like she'd run miles. They said nothing. Behind them, the video game machine near the bathroom chirped cheerfully through pixelated speakers. 8-bit music looped again and again. The soda fridge hummed. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Then, the girl with the knife charged. Her face was twisted, not in rage, but in focus. Eyes wide. Blade pulled back. Shoulders tight. Her shoes screeched against the tile. Gunshots rang out. The girl's chest bloomed with holes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Center mass. Her momentum folded. The knife hit the floor with a clatter. Her body followed. But the shots kept coming. Bang, bang, bang. Even after she hit the ground. The gun clicked on empty. Click, click, click. Still, the trigger was pulled. Again and again and again. The only sound left was the soft, mechanical futility of a weapon already spent. She held the gun in both hands, arms outstretched, the barrel trembling. Her fingers locked around the grip in the exact posture they'd trained her for. But this was nothing like training. She had never fired her weapon before. Not in the field. Not off duty. Not once in her entire career. Not until now. Her arms ached. Her chest rose and fell in rapid bursts. Her ears rang, an electric whine behind every breath. The smell of blood and burned gunpowder coated the back of her throat. She didn't lower the gun. Not yet. What will I tell them? She tried to form the words in her mind, rehearsing for the moment her colleagues would burst through the door. I was attacked. He killed a man. The girl had a knife. The shotgun. I didn't have a choice. But the words didn't settle. They rang false, each one. Flimsy. Hollow. She scanned the scene again, as if seeing it fresh. 4 bodies. Slushy man. Soup man. Clerk. Knife girl. Blood everywhere. Thick puddles, arterial spray, handprints smeared on cold glass, half-dried streaks dragged across tile. The can still lay where it had rolled, now motionless and dull. What was real? She reached for her phone. Muscle memory, instinct. Purse. Car. Front seat. Gone. Her fingers twitched uselessly in the air. Her hand curled toward her hip where the radio used to be. But she wasn't in uniform. Not today. She needed to get out. She turned to run but forgot the blood. Her shoes skidded. She fell sideways with a loud slap, elbow cracking against the floor. A wet splash rose up her side. Blood soaked her pants, her shirt, her hair. She scrambled to stand but slipped again, fingers sliding in gore too slick to grip. She gagged. The stench was getting stronger now. The way hot pennies might smell if you boiled them in meat. She spat onto the tile and tried again, crawling instead of running. Her legs wouldn't cooperate. Her balance was gone. Outside the broken door, she heard them. Sirens. Muffled. Distant. Then closer. Blue and red lights spilled across the sidewalk like sirens screaming in color. Tires screeched. Doors slammed. Barked orders rose in fragments through the ringing in her ears. Hands where I can. Clear the perimeter. Someone's moving. But it all felt wrong. Not in volume, but in speed. Slower. Heavier. Thicker. She blinked toward the light outside. Through the door. Cracked open and held there by the clerk's body. She saw movement. Muzzles up. Jackets marked police. Voices overlapping, barking. Guns drawn. But blurred. Warped. A dream again. And then, the weight returned. Not from above this time, but from within. A dense gravity poured out of her bones. Not just pressure, but presence. Her ears popped. Her jaw locked. The warmth bled from her limbs. She slumped, her spine curving inward, like she was being drained. Her nose bled. Her mouth filled with salt. It was happening again. Everything dimmed. Not the lights. Not the sound. Reality itself. She felt it all slow. Not to a stop, but to a crawl. Like syrup sliding down glass. The sirens became a single, distorted tone. Police voices stretched into underwater echoes. She tried to cry out. Nothing came. And then it began to leave her. Seeping out. Through her ears. Through her nostrils. Between her lips. Out the corners of her eyes. Like black fog expelled silently in reverse. A spiritual exhale she couldn't control. It peeled off her piece by piece. The heaviness, the haze, the something. And as it left, she knew. Not because she saw it or heard it. Because dream logic whispered the truth directly into her mind. It wasn't done. It had just finished here. It needed more. It was going to stay free. It would find another. Soon. She lay limp on the tile, chest heaving. Police finally burst through the door, their boots splashing into blood. Someone screamed. Someone shouted. But none of it mattered. It was already gone.